Stop overthinking James Bond. Just stop it. I'm not so much surprised that the Daniel Craig era of James Bond movies has finally driven itself into a fucking ditch. Creatively, I mean, there's no other action movie out now, so this shit is gonna make $1 billion, no matter how goddamn terrible it is, as I am surprised that it took this long. Craig has been a really good James Bond, I'm not even gonna dispute that, but he's served his time in a well-intentioned series whose baked-in systemic flaws have finally come to the surface. Well, even more so than when they already came to the surface 2 movies ago, but, I mean, if everyone else is still willing to pretend Quantum of Solace just didn't happen, I'll go along with that. Now, look, I'll be right the hell up front that when it comes to James Bond, I'm fucking old school. I like the gadgets, the hot chicks with silly names, the weirdo henchmen, the iconic bad guys, that's my jam. But Casino Royale was absolutely the shot in the arm the Bond franchise needed at that point, plus it was a really good fucking movie. I was down for that. But the problem with this series was right there even at the beginning. The people in charge knew they simply couldn't just do the traditional James Bond stuff anymore, but they stopped short of actually finding something entirely new and unique for the franchise to be so it could become as singular and exciting as it was back when it started. Instead, they just went chasing after whatever goddamn thing was popular at the movies that week. So Casino Royale is basically Batman Begins' gritty reboot but with James Bond. Quantum of Solace is a Jason Bourne movie but with James Bond. Skyfall is the exact same movie as The Dark Knight, but with James Bond. And now we have Spectre, which wants to be, what else in this climate? A Marvel movie. And I'm not just talking about the fact that Spectre steals almost its entire fucking premise from Captain America the Winter Soldier, though, just so we're clear, Spectre's big top-secret bullshit storyline about a push to modernize an intelligence organization by way of an increased privacy-infringing surveillance state actually being a backdoor exploit by a sinister organization bent on warped ideals of a new world order is ripped off almost fucking entirely from Captain America the Winter Soldier. No, it's worse than that. What Spectre wants is for its largely boring-as-hell events to have the same sense of scope and threads converging, multiple stories coalescing wake that you get from the Avengers movies, but after the fact, without having previously done any of the prep work to make that happen. So instead of coherently plotting a storyline of its own, Spectre basically just fucking cannibalizes its predecessors, washes it down with the runoff from every other popular franchise's septic sluice, vomits up the results, and calls it a day, meaning this 007 chases his tail for like 2 hours until the shitty bad guy shows up and declares that everything that happened in the previous 3 movies, and indeed Bond's entire fucking life, yeah, they actually go there, I'll get to that, was all part of his master plan the whole time. Which doesn't actually make any logical sense in the context of those previous movies, or even given what his endgame is supposed to be here, and plays out exactly as blunt and stupid as you're imagining.
It's me, Austin! Oh, son of a bitch! What? It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
No, no, no. Fuck you. You don't get to cop out of not having a good enough idea for your 4th movie by pretending that all the other unconnected bullshit from all the other movies was some kind of world-building exercise. That's almost as stupid and lazy as trying to get us invested in one of the most boring, useless Bond girls ever by randomly making her the daughter of some guy from the other movies. Which you also fucking do. Meanwhile, the action scenes, you know, the one thing you're supposed to be able to count on even the bad James Bond movies to deliver, are a universal shit pile of uninspired snoozers. The whole thing opens with one of those show-offy, single-take film school jerk-off tracking shots for no discernible reason. Then it follows that with a boring helicopter fight, a boring car chase, a boring fight on a train, some boring business in the snow, another boring helicopter scene, and a few more that I probably fucking slept through. Some of these scenes involve Dave Bautista, who's completely wasted as a henchman. If you thought his last WWE run was a dud, you ain't seen nothing yet. Oh, and you know how they made this huge fucking deal about Monica Bellucci being in this because finally an older woman Bond girl? Yeah, she's in this for like 2 minutes, tops, and she does fucking nothing. But it gets much worse. I mean, all that stuff is enough to make Spectre a bad movie, but at least on the Bond scale, it'd only wind up as bad as, say, Diamonds Are Forever or Quantum of Solace. What kicks this particular rectal obstruction down to the lower bowels with Die Another Day and Never Say Never Again is that it's the moment where the Craig era finally drops the act and admits that it just fundamentally never got James Bond. At all. And yes, this means we've got to spoil the twist, or rather the incredibly obvious and fucking stupid plot turn Spectre seems to think counts as a twist. So, you remember this dogshit moment from Star Trek Into Darkness?
My name is Khan.
I am a reference to something from the old movies that has no actual meaning to you or substantive bearing on this story, but it makes it seem like we're throwing a bone to the fanboys. Yeah, they go and do that, but they do it 1,000 goddamn times worse. When I first saw the trailers for this, I was already getting a bad feeling exclusively because of that shot with the photo and the one kid's face missing. Oh, God, I said, please don't do something that fucking stupid. Don't tell me you've decided that Blofeld is James Bond's fucking brother or something. And hey, what do you know? I was right. When Christoph Waltz, good lord, this guy won 2 Oscars in 3 years and even he's not any good in this garbage, finally shows up as the leader of Spectre, this is the story we get. He's the son of the guy who adopted James Bond after his parents died, and he subsequently murdered his father, became a global supervillain, has been secretly fucking with Bond his whole life, and set in motion all the bad stuff that happened over all 4 movies because he thought his dad loved James Bond more than him. Oh, and he also changed his name to Ernst Stavro Blofeld, a name we've never fucking heard before in this series and has never once come up, making it a functionally useless plot detail with no purpose beyond letting the movie pretend like it's reviving the iconic Bond villain without actually having done jack shit. But yeah, that's it. They decided to retroactively mush the previous 3 movies into one bigger make-believe storyline, and that's the best they could come up with. Fuck me. And this is what I mean about overthinking the series. There's a reason James Bond movies open with an action scene and then jump right into the main Act 2 plot stuff. Because they fucking can. This is the one action series where, by design, you don't need to waste time and weigh down the narrative with a bunch of convoluted bullshit for why he's going somewhere, getting into fights, and killing a bad guy. He does it because it's his fucking job. It's not even a duty or a calling. He gets paid for this shit. He has a license for it. Literally. It doesn't need to be a personal vendetta, or mommy issues, or a bad guy with a personal vendetta. Go someplace colorful, kill a bunch of people, and then shoot the bad guy is James Bond's 9 to 5 workday. You don't need to overcomplicate that shit. And if you do, at least try to scrape something off your sandals better than this "daddy always liked you best" bullshit. I don't give a fuck what Save the Cat has to say on the matter. This is not some kind of operatic big things come from small things shit like I'm gonna join the dark side because people I love keep dying, or I'm ending the universe because I'm romantically enthralled to the esoteric personification of death. It's just stupid. And Spectre is a waste of goddamn time. Skip it.